I am ecstatic to be alive, and I pray to God you are as well. You are tuning in right now to Sandra's Authors Forum, where everybody is important. I hope you have gone over and invited someone to the show tonight because it's going to be a rocky and rolling show. Go ahead to YouTube and do what? Hit that bell. Yes, we love interaction on the show. So we want you to feel free to send your comments and your questions in to the author. Well, it's about that time. I don't like to waste time. I know you don't either. So I'm getting ready to do what? Introduce our amazing guest tonight. He is the author of Prayers and Po Boys. Yes, Poboys. Come on, Larry. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fine, and thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I am so ecstatic just to have you here. I know that you have a story for the audience, and I'm just waiting to hear your testimony of how God has interacted in your life in an amazing way. Will you first tell us a little bit about yourself?
Obviously, I'm a cancer survivor, native New Orleanian. I graduated with a bachelor's in business administration. Um, my father, two beautiful kids.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. To be a father is an amazing thing. And
It
when
is.
something of this magnitude happens to a father or a mother, a parent for that matter, um, it's devastating to everybody involved. And so we appreciate you for coming on, sharing your story tonight. So we're going to jump right in, all right? The title of your book is Prayers and Po Boys. Do you have a copy of it with you?
I don't.
Oh, all right, no worries. So we're going to put on the screen. We're going to put on the screen. I know if you looked at any of the reels, you will see the copy, the photo of this book, Prayers and Po Boys. I want you to look at it because he's sitting in front of a what is it, a chess board?
Yes.
And tell me the significance of that because when I saw it, many things went through my mind.
I think what I was trying to convey with that is when you fight in cancer, it has to be strategic. It has to be thought out. Everything is carefully calculated. Of course, you have to remain in tune spiritually. You have to have a strong relationship with the man upstairs. But each situation, like each diagnosis, is different, and you have to know yourself, and you definitely need a game plan.
Definitely. So, all right. What age were you when you first wrote your first book?
And I wrote my first book. I was 30.
30 years old. That's not that's never too old,
Right.
but it's kind of late in the game to start as well. And so
Definitely.
many people think that anyway. But I say you can write a book when you're 100 years old. The sky
Right.
is the limit. That's my philosophy, right? So I want to
Absolutely.
tell you thank you for delving in there, not feeling the pressure of thinking that, oh man, I'm too old. I don't have anything to say, all the things that some things are going through the audience's mind because everybody have a story. And I want you to know, start writing tonight. All right. So you were about 30 years old. What
Correct.
significant happened in your life to try to catapult that experience of writing? You have several people that kind of nudged you, right?
Right. I think the most important person in that phase of my journey, initially, when I started college, life went haywire. Had to work, so writing kind of took a back seat. And I ended up going back to college in 2004, and I took a creative writing class. One of my professors, who is still one of my dear friends, Miss Susan Gebhardt, told me, she said, "Have you ever considered writing?" And I was like, "Not professionally." And she really pushed that, like, "You should." And she stayed on me, and here we are.
I'm glad she stayed on you, man. I was reading this
I
book
am
and I
too.
declare, I love love your writing skill. I
Thank you.
mean, detail for detail. That's what I love about it. You don't leave anything to the imagination. You don't have to wonder, and you itemize each day at a time. So I know we're skipping, but I had this burning question in my mind, and I just want to ask you now.
Please do.
When you were writing, um, number one, did you write it during your process, or did you write it after you completed your process?
I had completed it. A
So
matter of
my
fact,
next question would
mhm,
be, how did you remember detail for detail?
before Prayers and Pole Boys was ever a memoir, you have to keep in mind, I was told that I wouldn't make it to my next birthday. So initially, it was just a journal. I never intended to publish it.
Oh, got it. Because I was sure wondering. I'm like, man, you cross every T and you dot every I. You speak about the first day of you finding out this news. Can you depict that day for us?
It was a normal day, a strenuous day at work. And, I went to the doctor, and this was for something totally unrelated. And in the midst of this, I had a swollen lymph node, and he was like, "Have you ever had that checked out?" I was like, "Nah, it doesn't hurt." And the doctor pushed, though. He was adamant. So obviously, the test results confirmed my worst fear, and just I remember my thoughts being in a whirlwind. I remember my parents crying, and I can remember the doc. I remember his lips moving, but after that, I don't think I heard anything else.
So you're sitting there with your family and you're talking to the doctor. You're explaining to the doctor that you're having symptoms, right? Those symptoms is what brought you into the doctor's office. So you didn't have any idea or clue what was going on, but you were losing weight.
Right, and
What
I
were the other
attributed.
symptoms?
Sorry, go ahead.
What were the other symptoms?
Extreme fatigue. I didn't start to suffer the real true bouts of nausea until the tail end, meaning right before the diagnosis. And I attributed all these things to just strenuous work schedule. I had just recently completed a novel,
Mm.
and just a lot was going on. And I just, that a lot of us, and that's another thing about early detection, why that's so critical. I didn't do it, and it almost cost me the ultimate.
Go ahead. And so you're sitting there. He tells you your symptoms sound like something, but Larry, I noticed something while you're talking. There's a lymph node that is enlarged on, was it on your neck?
Right here, like right around my collarbone.
Mhm. And so, what I would like for you to talk to the audience, because many people have noticed certain things on their body, but they're not paying attention to it, just like you.
Right.
You said it's not hurting, I'm good. I don't, you didn't have any idea of what it could have been. I believe in early prevention. And so, the best thing we can do, and our community do not like hospitals. And so, I think for that reason alone, we notice things happening in our body and we just leave it there, for thinking that maybe it'll go away. Or what do you think that is? Why? Why did you leave it there?
Like you just said, I think I'm definitely guilty of that. And that's why I'm such a strong advocate for early detection now. If you have the slightest inclination that anything is wrong, get it checked out.
And I second that motion. Yeah, if you have the slightest thing of anything, any signs or because preventative measures will save you from going through the worst of things. Because once it's stage 4, like Larry's was, and we didn't even tell them the name of your cancer. What was it? Can you tell the audience the name of it?
Hodgkin's lymphoma stage. I was at the very end of stage 4.
Hmm. Stage 4 is a very scary place to be. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
uh, very scary
typically
place
it's
to
all
be.
but a death sentence.
Yeah, yeah. So we're told, unless we have, um, the equation of our loving Savior Jesus Christ, and so with
Absolutely.
Him on the scene, nothing is impossible, right? All right.
Correct.
So the questions are coming in, Larry. Let's get to it. And Victoria said we just ignore it for whatever reason, and I'm telling and pleading with the audience tonight. If you notice anything strange in your body, please go and get an opinion and then get a second opinion, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Yes. Second opinions are really good. Sometimes the diagnosis is not correct. And then also believe in the scripture that says, be careful how you hear. And so when you're sitting in the doctor's office and they give you some type of bad news, your faith begin to waver. Fear settles in. And I know reading your book, you talk about fear. Fear is torment. And fear is false evidence that appears real. And with these, situations that we go through in life, um, we don't want fear to take precedent. And so that's why you are here in front of me tonight. So you can tell men and women who are suffering, who will suffer from this, that this is the face of a survivor, a person that made it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What does the term cancer mean?
Cancer to me is is so many different things. It's uncertainty.
Mm,
It's a brush with death.
yeah, you're very brief, but that's what it is.
Right.
It's a brush with death. They said in the olden days, having a baby is coming this close to death. I don't say that, but when you have cancer, baby, it's going to change the trajectory of your life. It will change your mindset. It will change the way you think for the present and the future. Am I correct?
Absolutely. My,
Exactly. Go ahead.
I
Hmm.
was just saying, like, cancer, just the diagnosis in itself, long before you ever start chemo or radiation or whatever your particular regimen is, your perception of time will be distorted from that moment forward.
Wow. Yes, that's very true. There's some questions that says, what was it like receiving that kind of news? So let's paint the picture. It was a holiday season, actually my favorite holiday.
5 days
And I
before
wouldn't
Christmas.
want to receive any type of news. I received my news in November, well, October,
Right.
um, around November, October. So it wasn't so bad. But yours was right there knocking on the door of Christmas. And so, what were your feelings? What were your thoughts and your emotions?
This is something strange. Above all else, even with all the fear, the uncertainty, everything that physicians had told me, I think my biggest emotion during that time was I felt guilt because, like you said, this was a week before Christmas.
Right.
And nobody could focus on the holidays at all. Everything was all about me. And I hated that I felt like I robbed them of the opportunity to enjoy Christmas.
I can only, like, if I were a fly on the wall, I could imagine you feeling even worse than receiving the news. You have
Right.
children, you had a wife, and and now we get this bad news at a good season in our lives. What are we gonna do? And so you had a support system, correct?
Absolutely.
Very good. It's also good to have a support system, family, friends, you know, um, church members, pastors, to rally around you to comfort you because this news is called weighty news, it's heavy news. We want to stop and thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We are ecstatic that you are here. Um, Miss Joy, thank you for showing up tonight. We appreciate your comments and your attendance here. Please do me a huge favor and share. Tell everybody that Sandra's Authors Forum is on and popping. We have an amazing guest tonight. His name is Mr. Larry Singleton. He is the author of Po' Boys, Prayers and Po' Boys. I was telling somebody about the interview tonight, and they said, "Oh, I've never heard of Po' Boys." I said, "Well, I think I've only uh, heard of it of a restaurant, you know, but I've never pronounced it or anything." So I'm honored to be here talking to you. We want to ask you this: when you receive news such as this, what is the first thing you do?
I guess that would be different for each individual, but me, I think, and again, I know this sounds cliche, but I prayed a lot. Like this is hands down the most terrifying news that you will ever receive. And I've always had a great relationship with God, but we definitely got a lot closer.
I love it. I love it. You know, it totally gets your attention. You're an
Yes,
educated man. You went to college. You went and got degrees. How many degrees do you have?
just won a bachelor's in business administration.
Well, you said just one. That's one of the hardest degrees to get,
It
business
is.
administration.
It
You
is.
know, and so what I'm saying is, you're an educated man. You receive this news, and there's no words in your vocabulary to even express how you're feeling as a man. You don't know if you're going to live for tomorrow. You don't know if this is going to be the last time. You're writing a book, and you don't know if you're going to complete the book.
Absolutely.
Can you talk to the audience about um, receiving news such as this?
Again, it was earth shattering, it's catastrophic. And in terms of just trying to beat cancer, much less making it to actually being a survivor, you have to have, it is imperative that you have a relationship with the man upstairs. No matter how good your doctors are, how accurate uh, the regimen is that you're being treated with, that is essential. That played a critical part in the title of the book, obviously, and just me being here at all.
Oh man, certainly. Victoria says, "What is something that you could tell men who are or will be in this position?"
Again, not to be redundant, but definitely stay grounded. You have to pray and you have to believe in what you're asking for. Now, in terms of what you do physically, drink water, and back to the title. The title of the book is everything. In addition to your spirituality, most and a lot of people don't know this. And this is something I definitely want to stress.
Hmm.
Most people who die don't die of cancer or the complications from chemo or radiation. They actually die of malnutrition. It is imperative, it is essential that you find a way to eat. You have to eat.
You have to eat, and a lot of people stop eating because of everything that's going on.
Right.
Um, Hello, my sister, Pastor Anderson, is on. If anyone would like to join the show and come on stage tonight for the first time, I'm giving you that opportunity. Put a comment in the comment section and we will send you a link. Don't be shy. If you want to join and ask questions and have dialogue, if you've gone through this situation, feel free to come on as well. We would like for you your comments. We would like to have great dialogue tonight. All right. So you get the news and you're going to your first chemo session. What was that like?
That for me, I again, like we talked about, I have to this day a childlike phobia of needles. So for me to learn that I would have to get infusions, that these injections would be in my chest for every session, for me that was terrifying.
Terrifying.
And
So
then
go ahead. They show you this needle, and what happens?
again, all that did was rekindle childhood fears. And then, like you said, with the first session, you don't even know how you're gonna react to the chemo drugs.
Mm-mm.
Like all the warnings, they tell you you may experience a sudden loss of breath. This could lead to a heart attack or stroke. So, in addition to already being terrified with the uncertainty that comes with cancer, you telling me the medication could kill me?
Exactly. So, like, you don't even know, not knowing your future. I
Right.
mean, we typically don't know our future, but we have some sense of when I go to bed tonight, I'm going to wake up in the morning. But when you get a diagnosis of cancer, it's like most people translate that as a death sentence. Um, but what I learned through my experience is the man above has the key to every minute, every second, and every hour of your life.
Absolutely.
Is that what you learned as well?
I did.
Yeah,
I'm still experiencing it.
exactly. And so, how long was your process?
3 months, which in itself was miraculous.
Exactly, because I'm telling you the truth. 3 months is like a short time
It is.
compared to a lot of people's treatment. And
And I
so
know
you're
people who have
taking
been
your
fighting for
treatment and
years.
say it again. I didn't hear you.
I know people who have been fighting it for years and still are.
Exactly. And that's pretty unfortunate. I too witnessed that on a level like it was unbelievable. Going there with the same routine, having the same doctors, the same nurses, the same team working on you. You mentioned in your book of how one day you get to the office and your team is not there.
Right.
Talk to me about that.
Well, at University Medical Center, I had what I think was the absolute best staff. Everyone was receptive. They kept me up. They made sure they prayed with me. They is again, I can't overstate it. And I mention them on virtually every page at some point or another. And I'm still friends with these people right now.
That's awesome. Pastor Anderson went through cancer as well, and she said, my mantra was, I may have cancer, but cancer does not have me.
Amen.
That's powerful to have that mindset because you got to talk to yourself during this process. And for
Every
everybody
day.
coming along that has gone through, that will be going through this, we want to paint the picture tonight so you will know pretty much what to expect. Because number one, the doctors cannot tell you everything. All right. And so we're also, and I'm so excited about it. Um, Author Larry Singleton has joined the Cancer Experience anthology. So he will be in my uh, anthology, which will hit, it will launch March 25th of 2024. And if there's anyone out there that would like to share in this anthology, we welcome you. We welcome you with open arms because we are a living testimony of we are the voices of the people that God has spared their lives. I was talking to one of my friends in Texas. She's also joined Dr. Barbara Tinbrink. She's already submitted her story and paid her fee, and she's so excited. And she's also gotten another person in the anthology as well. So this anthology is moving, and it behooves each and every one of you, if you have a story to tell, to share the world and let them know your story. We welcome you. Um, but she was telling me, she said, Sandra, I went through it 50 years ago, 50 years ago. And she said, I'm so excited that you asked me to write in this book because I never took the time to reflect. And you were saying that you never stopped to reflect when the doctor told you what he detected, what it really meant, right?
Right.
And had you done that, what do you think would have happened?
I think I probably would have written it a lot sooner.
Yeah. And you were saying that you probably wouldn't have received the information, the news so well, right?
Right, definitely.
I always say this: I am ecstatic to be alive, and I pray to God you are as well.
I am.
That's
I
what
never
I
take
say,
it for
man.
granted.
Every day, every day, every day means something to me. Even to this day, I try my best to say this every single day, and not only say it but mean it. You know, and even my coaching company is called Ecstatic Coaching. Everything about me is ecstatic. You know why? Because it could have gone another way.
Absolutely.
Could have gone another way. Stage 4 Hopkins lymphoma. 3 months to process, to go through your journey. You learned a lot during that period. Can you tell us some things you learned that you hadn't known prior to?
I think to touch back on something I said, I think one of the biggest lessons, just in terms of dealing with cancer, is how many people lose this battle simply from not eating.
Mhm.
I think that was one of the biggest things. Like to this day, I still find that mind blowing. Like you always just take it for granted.
Mhm.
The people who lost the battle did so just because, specifically because of cancer or the complications with chemo or whatever the case was. And that accounts for over 40%.
Boy, that's a lot. That's a
It
lot.
is.
Oh wow. Um, was were all of your treatments routine, or did you have complications during your treatments?
No, I was really blessed with that aspect of it. Like I never experienced any complications. And from the beginning, the symptoms went down drastically. I picked up weight, and I think that contributed to how short the process was.
All right, you said you picked up weight. Usually, most people lose weight, right?
Right.
I want you to tell the audience what your routine was and what the lady in the hallway told you
Right.
about what you should do.
Okay. I got to tell this story because we still laugh about this to this day. On the first day of my first treatment, I walked in with a suitcase, and the nurse was like, "Well, this is not an overnight process. Like, you get to go home when you're done." And I was like, "Yeah, but this isn't clothes." And she was like, "Well, what's in the bag?" I said, "Food." And she was like, "I don't know if they told you or not, but most people can't eat at all when you're going through chemo." So over time, that's ultimately what led to the title. The registrar in the oncology unit told me, she said, "You got to write about this. You are already an author. That's your voice. You have to tell this story." And every day leading up to that, she would say, "How are you staying so upbeat? How are you gaining weight?" And I would say jokingly, "Prayers and po' boys." And I was like, I might, but what would I call it? And she said, "Duh, prayers and po' boys." And here we are.
Prayers and po' boys. That is amazing. Do you remember now um, any of the prayers you prayed?
All of them. Like most of the time, it wasn't anything specific. It's just however I felt that day.
All
Like
right.
at
So,
different. Mhm.
uh-huh. Prayers are very important to me, and it's one of the most favorite things that I do every day. But also, reading the Word of God helps me as well. What's one of your favorite scriptures?
Well, Psalm 23, definitely. And throughout that process, he was absolutely my shepherd and still is.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
Absolutely.
He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. It's so personal, you
It
know.
is.
That whole passage is personal. And I appreciate that as well. What is your favorite quote?
It doesn't necessarily pertain to this, but I would say Maya Angelou, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time.
Yeah, we certainly found out through life and through living. People will show
Absolutely.
you, and it's up to you to believe what they show. My mom used to say, uh, you can't pick a apple from an orange orchard or orange tree,
Right.
right? An apple must come from an apple tree, right? An orange must come from an orange. Grapes must come from a grapevine, And so when people show you their marks, you gotta believe them, and it will save you a lot of stress. And so, what is one thing that doctors tell you to alleviate during this process?
And that's something else I plan to touch on. And as it relates to everybody, but men specifically, as the breadwinners of your family, when you get that diagnosis, as surely as prayer and have developing a healthy regimen are essential, so is remaining stress free. Stress in itself is a cancer.
Yes. Stress will kill you. And
Yes,
what are some things that you did to try to alleviate stress? Because, like we were talking, you said you can't prevent it, it's going to happen, but
right,
you can maintain it, or you can, you know, uh, what is the word we used the other night? We can control it for the most part.
right. Again, I think that's going to be different for each person in terms of whatever brings you peace. Like, what can you get lost in? For me, it was sports.
Uh, Sports. And
Definitely.
then what type of sports did you watch?
I'm all of them, but football primarily.
Football. And that's my four boys have loved football and play football. I don't like that sport. I just want to say, as a mother, I think it's so detrimental to the children and
It
the
absolutely
brain.
is.
Yeah. But you did sports and you read a lot.
I
One
did.
book you read by T.D. Jakes. Can you tell us about that?
Strength for every moment. I still read that book occasionally, and that book played as big a part in my recovery probably as anything. I quoted him several times throughout prayers and pull boys.
Strength for every moment.
Yes,
That's powerful. The title alone is telling you that God will be your strength every moment, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can depend and trust in God to help us to uh, make it through whatever situation we're going through. Right now in the world, there's so much happening. There are wars and rumors of wars. You know, um, Israel is going through a very difficult time right now, losing so
absolutely.
many of their human beings, just lost their life, can't get it back, and the country is in an upheaval. Uh, wow. What would you say to people that are going through so much right now in this season?
This is at a time I think when you look at the world in general, entertainment and school, I think the absence of God is so critical in all these areas, especially like you touched on the situation in Israel. We got to get back to that.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate that they're going through this. I remember I was going out of town, and a lady stopped me I was on the train, and she touched my shoulder and she said, "Pray for the peace of Jerusalem." And she said, "Do another thing. I want you to step up your giving, and I want you to give at least not under $10 on Sunday when you go to church." And she said, "God is going to bless you." And I thank God for that. She was a total stranger, right? But
Right.
we don't know if that was an angel unaware or what. So we have to treat everybody with love and kindness. Um,
Absolutely.
God draws us with loving kindness. Sometimes He gets our attention, and I think cancer is something that you can look back and say, "Wow, God, He got my attention with this one." You know.
Definitely.
Uh, so, what did you learn from your experience of going through this? I know there were some ups and downs. Yours was a short period, um, but we want to go through what you learned halfway through your process. I learned some things like um, don't pick every battle,
Right.
right? I learned things like everything is not as urgent as people may make it seem, right?
And
I
everything
learned,
doesn't require your attention.
yeah, come on, talk to me.
I think the biggest thing I learned as far as that is this. If you lose money, let's say you lose money, you can get that back. Anything else. But when you almost lose your life, it puts everything else in perspective. And I think he allows us to go through things like that because as you drift away from worldly things, it draws you closer to him.
Exactly. It draws you closer to him. And I'm so grateful that he has that drawing power. Um, Talk to us about your last treatment.
My last what?
Your last treatment.
The last treatment. This is actually when we had the conversation about the title for the book. Um, it's a feeling I can't explain. It's the opposite end of the spectrum from the diagnosis. It's I don't know. It's a new lease on life. Like it's a renewed sense of life. Period. Like just it's. I wanted to say a second chance, but it's beyond that.
It
It's
is
like a
beyond that.
rebirth.
Sometimes your voice goes out if you can. I don't
Sorry
know what that
about that.
is. Uh-huh. So, so the last treatment, I remember being so excited, that I was going to be able to ring the bell.
Right.
So share with us um, what they told you before you took your last treatment, and then share with us the joys of you getting to ring the bell and who was with you to share in that.
Before I answer that, let me touch on this because this was one of the most profound experiences, and this was all the course of that same sequence. When the nurse was explaining to me how this process went, I took it for granted that everyone who rung the bell that symbolized that you had beat cancer. That doesn't always mean that. It just means you're done with chemotherapy.
Wow.
I actually met a person who had had his bell rung, but his bell ringing meant that he was not receptive to chemo. So, in essence, the ringing of his bell was a death sentence.
I never heard that. I never heard that.
Right.
Wow. So whew, that's scary within itself.
It was.
So
And
the
this
question,
person still congratulated me for beating it.
wow. And so he congratulated you.
Right.
Hmm. Wow. A new lease on life. What does that mean? Because you talked about in the book about all of your fears, your apprehensions, and everything, what you went through every time you went to a treatment, and you so intellectually describe your fears,
Right.
and you actually write out your thoughts, and I really appreciate that. You tell like detail for detail. So tell us about that.
I mean, the fears range from, you have to keep in mind, my children were very young at this time. I'm like, I won't get to see my son graduate high school. I won't be there for any future things. I won't be there for their weddings. I'll never know what it is to have grandchildren.
Wow.
Just everything. Keep in mind, at the time, I'm a fledgling author. I won't know what it is to ever reach the pinnacle of writing. Just everything. In any goals I had set, anything I ever thought about doing, it's like, wow, this is really not going to happen.
Wow. Yeah, that's fear has torment, so it will take an advantage of you if you let it. We want
Right.
to stop and tell you thank you for the stars. You all are sending in stars tonight. We celebrate you. And after the show, we do comment and tell you thank you and mention your name. We also want to pause and ask you to do what? Sow a small seed and reap a great harvest. Um, this is a paid show, so it's a paid platform. And we're asking you to stop what you're doing, go to your Cash App, and send in a donation. And we would like for you to match tonight. So whoever sends in the first donation, I will say the amount, and then we'll ask you to match that amount. Um, Go right ahead, and the information is on the screen. Cash App, $ Journey into Purpose, PayPal, Journey into Purpose 22 at gmail.com. Would you like to send in a donation? We're giving you an opportunity to be blessed tonight, and please take advantage of that. On the screen, you will see how you can purchase prayers and po' boys. Prayers and po' boys. All right, prayers and po' boys. Here you go. You can go to PayPal, and it is on the screen. I mean, Amazon, Amazon.com. And the link is right there. Just click the link in the comment section. And when you make that purchase, please put it in the comment section. Can you tell us how much the book is?
It's 14.95 for the paperback, and it's $6 for the ebook.
That's chump change. That's nothing at all. Go get this book. Go get this book and help this author as he
Please
so
do.
profoundly tells his story about walking this walk and talking the talk. Did you have any opposition once you started your process? Like, you're a man, you're the head of your house.
Right.
Were you able to go to work?
I wasn't. In the initial stages, everything was crippling. Like, the pain was terrible. I had to develop an appetite, and just dealing with the internal pressure of when you're the breadwinner, this is the additional pressure that the head of the household carries. So when you factor all that in, without going back to my support system, without them, the weight of that cross is unbearable.
So I understand that many people lose a lot of stuff during sickness.
Right.
They lose their homes because they can't keep up with it. They lose a lot of things. And so we're grateful to know that you are back and moving and shaking in the world. And God saw you through that. What effect did it have on you is the question.
Again, I think, for lack of a better explanation, it tore me apart because you can't see an end to it. All you see is the uncertainty. All you see is the physical pain of cancer. You know from experience how draining chemotherapy is. And again, when you combine all that, it's overwhelming. And only through God's grace am I here talking to you right now.
Exactly. And so she says, oh my God, knowing his circumstances, the maturity required to do that is insane. Yeah, you have to come up from the pit for sure. So if you
Absolutely.
start out in the pit and you get bad news, you cannot stay in the pit. You're gonna have to have a good support system. You're gonna have to talk to yourself and dance like David danced. I know that was one of my tools that I used every morning. I got up, I went to my restroom, and I held on to that counter, and I gave God a dance. I couldn't dance like David danced, but I gave him my best. And so that's what God is requiring, that we give him his best. And then repenting. I found out that emptying out and repenting for old, for good, bad, and ugly, all of the things that you did, the things that you couldn't um, prevent, the things that happened to you without your permission. I just repented. You know what I did? I repented for my grandfathers. my
Right.
forefathers, my father's sins. I repented. I went all the way back, man. When I tell you I went there, I just started talking to God and telling him how sorry I was and that, I tried to do my best, but my best wasn't good enough. Can you accept me as I am? I come boldly to the throne of grace, as humble as I know how. And I just began to pull out some prayers like you wouldn't believe. But when I was going through, I was in college. I didn't have the chance to quit. I was in my last year, right? And when I posed it to my professors, they told me basically if I were to quit or drop out, it will be worse for me financially and as far as schooling was concerned. So that alone gave me a push to keep on going. I had to work. I worked all the way through chemo and radiation. Um,
That's unbelievable.
yeah, yeah. I worked all the way through, man. God gave me some sustaining grace, and I'm so grateful. I'm going to share that my story in this cancer experience. I don't want to tell everything, but I had some journeys. I had some upheavals. I had some trying days. Some days uh, that I'm going to talk about in this book. So you're going to want to get this. So Joy said, was your process short due to early detection? That's a good question, Joy. Thank you.
No, actually, I was extremely blessed. My detection was so late that when they told me the initial diagnosis, the doctor also told me I wouldn't make it to my next birthday.
hmm So he had stage 4, and if you all can do me a huge favor and share this live right now, please, with all the and tag people in it because people need to know this subject right now. The statistics prove that in this year alone, there is thousands of people that will get the diagnosis of having cancer. We want you to ask the questions that you have been thinking about. You have a person that went through it here ready to answer your questions. And we open the floor right now to all questions. If you have a question for this author, we want you to send the question because Larry is here for you. All right. Hallelujah. Yes. All right. And so somebody just told me they are going to join the project, the cancer experience. Man, when you do something that God tell you to do, it makes you so happy regardless to the circumstances that are involved because when God tells us to do something and we jump on the bandwagon, he's going to open up the windows of heaven and pour us out blessings that we don't have room enough to receive. Can you name 2 people that you gleaned from during your process?
Let me think. When you said two, I have to say my kids.
That's good. Yeah. Yes. Talk to me about that. And what would you say to them right now? Your whole support team. If they were on listening to you right now, what would you say to them?
Know that I can never overstate what you guys meant throughout that process, what you mean to me now. I love each and every one of you, and without you, I probably wouldn't be here.
Come on. Indeed. I'm just words fail me because you don't even have the proper words to say to a support team.
Right.
I had my 4 daughters, my 4 babies were here, and they took care of me morning, noon, and night. The roles were swapped. I was no longer the parent, I was the child. And they made
Exactly.
sure like they rubbed my feet, they lotioned my feet. They did everything I needed them to do, because cancer is an ugly thing. The bottom of my feet turned black. Did that happen to you
No,
with
I
the
was
cancer?
fortunate with that.
Oh, that's good. That's good. What are some symptoms that you had?
Uh, Discoloration of my fingernails was one. I spoke on that in the book too. Other than that, all the classic symptoms out. Extreme bouts of nausea, night sweats, drastic weight loss, That's pretty much it.
Hmm. Hmm. You didn't lose your appetite.
No,
Didn't lose your appetite. That right there is huge, man. That's
it
huge.
is.
I didn't lose mine either. I'm right in there with you, and I took great joy. Uh, and I'm going to write it in the book. I'm going to explain to you what my day meant. You know, I
Right.
got dressed up. You know, I wasn't sad. I didn't take anybody with me. That day of treatment was my day, me and God. And I had my head up. I was encouraged that I needed this in order to live and to survive. So I was going to do what I needed to do. Is this your son, Larry Singleton?
Yes.
He said, Dad, we're here listening. Thank you so much, Larry, for
I
coming
love
on.
you.
Yes. Dad said he loves you. That is awesome. Thank you for coming on. Please send in your questions, all right? Or send in a comment. Whatever you would like to say at this moment, we are waiting for you, all right? Um, the symptoms for everybody is different.
Right.
The size of your lymph node, um, what size was it?
I would say give or take about the size of a golf ball.
Mm. After treatment, what was your routine?
Every day. I think another thing again, this played a critical part in my recovery too. Being from Louisiana, we have a world renowned cuisine here. So I think that kind of eased the transition. Like I was looking forward to eating again, as opposed to where I think most people kind of shy away from it. So we talking every day I would go to all my favorite restaurants, whether that was Melba's, Jeans.
Come on, shout them out.
Yeah, definitely.
They took good care of you. And
They
because they
did.
did that, look, you're still here today to tell the story. And that is amazing, man, because you have to eat good food. Now,
Yes.
the lady told you it doesn't matter for you to just eat whatever you had a taste for. Um, that wasn't my case, and that wasn't my experience, and that will not be everybody's experience. So I don't want you to take what worked for him for you. All right. So you listen to your doctors and do the right thing. Mine was eat as healthy as you can eat. Uh, Eat salads, pour olive oil over it instead of dressing because the dressings are fattening.
Right.
Um, Mine
And I
was
think a
baked
big
food.
part of that too, I
Hmm.
think was the difference in the stages that we were in. You know, like when you reach the end of stage 4, like it's so drastic at that point, your body needs whatever nourishment you can get.
Hmm. Hmm. Correct. Um, your son said he loves you too, and we are enjoying this. Question is, what caught you off guard the most?
Mm, I think that this is actually a good thing. I think what caught me off guard the most, the level of support. Like the people at my support system, my team, nobody ever quit. They never allowed me to get down in the dumps. I think that was the biggest thing.
Can you help the audience with something that blindsided you? Something that you didn't know you were going to have to go through or experience?
Mm, I think this was the hardest part of the journey. Keep in mind, in the course of going back and forth to treatments, you're going to be surrounded by people going through either the exact same thing or very similar things. And I mentioned this throughout the book. Some of these people that I got really close to,
Mm-hmm.
some of these people actually died along this journey. And I think that blindsided me the most because you well in tune with the fact that that could happen, but knowing it and it actually happening is two totally different things
Exactly.
because
And
it puts you back in tune with your own mortality.
right. Wow. And you know, you told me when you were in the office finding out the news, your parents were crying. Your parents
Right.
are still alive.
Yes.
Yay! I'm so excited about that. Um, you know, everybody can't have their parents. All right. I don't have neither one of mine. All right.
My
So
heart
I
goes out.
celebrate those people who have both of theirs or even one of them. And I said to the audience, love your parents because once they're gone, right? And you cannot
Definitely.
get them back. I wish many a day that I could talk to my mom and dad or take them on vacation with me. I'm getting ready to go to Florida. I wish I could stick them in my front or back pocket and take them
Right.
with me instead of them doing everything for me, you know? So if you have the opportunity to do something great for your parents, take that time to do it because once that opportunity is gone, it is gone. All right.
Right.
Um, did you ever have survivor's guilt? That's a good question.
I
If so,
did.
how did you get over it? Yeah.
I don't know that I did.
Mm,
Like I still think about those people every day. Like I have sat in the waiting room. I
mm,
have watched families cry. I have heard people literally being told that their bodies aren't receptive to chemo or
right,
radiation.
right. Yeah, I remember that. You making me remember, boy. Mine was about 5 or 6 years ago, and I remember many people coming into the office and they could not get the treatment, or they had to send them home, or the port wasn't working, or they couldn't get the
Right.
blood. You know, it's a whole lot of dynamics to being able to get the treatment. Number one, when you first start out, you don't want the treatment, but then when you find out it's an impossibility. The doctor didn't order it, or your body is saying no to it,
Right.
or whatever. Then that's a whole horse of another color. Then you're like, what?
It
I want
is.
the treatment. You know, please give me the treatment. And you were talking about your fear and phobia of blood and all of that. I'm not as worse as you,
Right.
but I have my level, right? But I remember going into the room because what I want to paint the picture is you're not in a room by yourself. You're in a whole room with multiple people with chairs and
Definitely.
family members, and you know you're looking in the eyes of people that may not make it while you're trying to survive yourself. It's not a good it's not a good atmosphere, I would venture to say. You know, you get to meet new people, you get to talk to people. I want you to tell the audience when you were in there and you noticed the couple.
Right.
You share that story with them.
All right. That was a few of them, but this is the situation I think you're referring to, where I'm talking to this guy, and actually he's there because his wife is getting chemo. And I remember him, like, he almost was in tears, and he was like, there was so much I wanted to do, so much I wanted to tell her, and now I fear that I'll never get that opportunity. And it was just that goes back to the guilt. Like I related to that on so many different levels. And I was like, as optimistic as I was, I had to consider I might not get a chance to right a lot of wrongs.
Come on. Woo, yes. What does it mean when their body isn't receptive? Can you explain that?
Yeah, like when you going through chemo, and I'm sure you can relate to this. Every in the middle of sessions, you'll go to get blood work done to see how your body is reacting to the treatments. And a lot of people, their platelet counts are off, or whatever the case may be. And at that point, I can't fathom that. Like I know that I am truly blessed,
Mm,
and I took to it well, and I saw so many situations where people didn't. Like some people couldn't handle it at all. Like they developed nausea the second it hit their bloodstream, or couldn't breathe, or had whatever adverse effects to it. And then they would switch to radiation, and it was just as bad, if not worse.
mm. Some people's immune system is just not strong enough to handle it,
Absolutely.
you know, for whatever reason. And there's nothing you can do. The doctors try to do all that they can do, but you're really in the hand of God when you go through something like this. So we want to tell you, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, because It's not over until God says it's over. All
Right.
right. This is a scripture that's in your book, and it's one of my favorites. All right. He gives power to the faint, to the weak, and to those who have no might. He increases strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those that wait upon the Lord, they shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Isaiah 40 and 29, he so candidly tells us that we can depend on the master. Coping mechanisms. What was your coping mechanism? If you can name two of them.
Football and food.
Yeah, mentioning food. Have you ever heard, audience, of alligator cheesecake? Because I've literally never heard of alligator cheesecake, but he talks about it in the book. I said, I don't know if that's one of the things I want to learn, to
You
taste.
gotta try it.
He promised me that it's delicious. So talk
It
to the
is.
audience about some alligator cheesecake.
Before you get lost in the title, I think that's just more of a name than it is actually alligator cheesecake. Like you don't taste the alligator.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. Like I'm thinking, like whoever the creator was of this entree, what were they thinking? Like,
Right.
come on. All right. Um, so it is 9:02, and I know time went back very quickly.
It
We're gonna
did.
ask a couple more questions, right? Laughter. What does laughter mean to you?
I think laughter is essential. I love to laugh. And if you can find a way to do that, and I don't mean just for cancer patients, just in everyday life, like I can't put that in words. I personally, I love to laugh. And I find that I laughed a lot throughout that process. Not that anything was funny about what I was going through,
Come
but
on.
there was several, like I said, the nursing staff at university, unbelievable. They kept me happy. And keep in mind, for me, each session was 7 hours. And
Yes.
somehow we found a way to laugh and joke and talk the entire time. And they had to be awesome to make 7 hours fly where you completely stationary.
Yeah, you said you never went to sleep during your treatment, and yours was 7 hours,
Never.
man. I went to sleep, man. I slept like a lump on a log, and I enjoyed that. That was my solitude. I know you're like, it's probably an oxymoron, but that
No,
was my
not at
peace.
all.
That was my serenity. I knew, yeah, I was not worried. I went to sleep every session, and then you have to
Right.
stay over for 30 minutes. I forgot about that because they have to watch you to make sure the medicine that they just put in your body is not going to make you sick or die. And so
Right.
they have you stay over after your 7 hours. Then you have to stay over for 30 minutes to make sure that you're going to be all right when you go home. Um, but man, I went to sleep every session. I ordered my food. I had a fruit platter. um, I love fruit, and so I would order a fruit platter. I would order, if it was in the morning session, I would order oatmeal, toast, and I would have my yogurt and my orange juice, or some. or, am I making you hungry? Or I would
Yeah.
have cranberry juice. I ate very
Right.
healthy. Sometimes they had an omelet, or sometimes they had the pot pie in the hospital is to die for. I'm just saying. Um, but yeah, they served me well, and I really enjoyed my food. I looked forward to it, so I didn't eat breakfast at home. If I went in the morning, and then if I went in the evening or later in the afternoon, I had my whole layout.
Right.
And after I ate, I would drink a lot of water, and then they would put a heated blanket over me, and I would recline in that recliner and go to sleep. All right. Fear not thyself. Don't fear. If you get the news of anything tragic or anything, take a deep breath, inhale, exhale, and then Call on the name of the Lord. Hmm. That's my advice. What's your advice?
Absolutely. My advice is stay vigilant. First of all, early detection. If you get the slightest idea that anything is wrong,
Hmm.
please go get it checked out. Do not wait until they telling you in stage 4 and you might not make it to your next birthday. First,
Right.
please go get checked out.
Hmm.
However much water you already drink, increase your water intake by as much as you can and find a way to eat.
Yes, yes. I mean, I saw some people coming in there. They looked like they were at the point of death at any second. It's a
Right.
gruesome scene. Like you think you're in a movie or something. Did you have that
Absolutely.
awareness? Like you feel like you're in a scary movie when you go in
Definitely.
there. But God favored me, and every time I went in there, they said, "Oh, that's my beautiful friend," or "That's my beautiful girl," or they called me beautiful lady, or whatever,
Right.
because God had preserved me. He preserved me and He took care of me. And I just give God all the praise and glory. So Edie Darling, which is an ex-police officer, she says, please tell me there's no alligator in the cheesecake. Please tell me there's no alligator in the cheesecake. Oh my gosh. And then Victoria says, yes, I concur. That's my sentiments exactly. Um, All right. So Victoria said, she said, if you try it first, Edie, let her know. All right. Oh, yeah. All right. My baby boy, he's in Cancun, Mexico, and he says, praise the Lord.
Amen.
Thank you for joining, Solomon. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you. This gentleman is on talking about his experience with cancer, and he wants to warn everybody to go get checked out and trust in the Lord. They go hand in hand, right? Go get checked out and trust in the Lord. What would you say to the young men?
I would say the same thing. The world has changed so drastically, and especially know your family history. If it's hereditary, if you think it might be, there is no such thing as too early when it comes to detection.
Mhm. And during this season, if you're getting treatment right now, protect your immune system. What are
Yes,
some things you did to protect your immune system? I know I use elderberry. That's very good.
right,
Vitamin C. I kept lemons. Lemons was my best friend. I did honey and lemon. I do ginger. There's some things. Throw out some things that you did so the audience can have some type of idea. And I will mention this as well. Beets. You want to have beets in your regimen as
right.
well. And then I went to Clean Juice. Clean Juice is a company where they make the juice and you get to pick what you want in it. So I will get pineapple, fresh pineapple, carrots, apple, celery. I would do all of this in one setting. I would get spinach and kale. And so I still do that as well. So take care of yourselves. But what is something you did?
And this is something I want to stress too. You touched on this earlier, and I want to make sure I am very clear about this.
Hmm.
Prayers and Pool Boys is by no means a how to guide on how to beat cancer. This is an individual account. This is my story. For each person, each diagnosis is different, each situation is different. Whatever you find that you can consume, please consult your physician, find out what's best in your particular situation. But any way that you can find in a healthy way to detox, I encourage that 100%. When you, in terms of fluid consumption, as much water as possible, juices, try to stay away from carbonated drinks throughout that time, if at all possible, because through your bodily secretions, through sweat, through urine, this is how you rid your body of dead cancer cells.
Hmm. And also the medicine that they're putting in your body. You want
Right,
to, just like you exfoliate the skin, you want to actually go ahead and clean out your body. Right now, I'm taking some liver capsules to
right.
clean out
And
some liver detox. I have a
And
friend that's suffering with his liver right now. You have to protect your organs. You know, the organs is all you have.
absolutely.
Once the organs are checked out, then you have nothing else. Take care of yourself is what we're saying. Victoria had a point question. She says, what is the biggest mistake that people do when they receive bad news?"
I think the worst thing that you can do, and I've seen this countless times, is to panic. Don't panic. Trust the man upstairs. Trust the process. Trust that these doctors know what they're talking about. Trust that the particular strength of chemo that's recommended for you. Trust everything. Trust the
Yeah,
process, but ultimately trust God.
exactly. She said, "Why is panicking so bad?" Mm,
It's bad because panicking is the most extreme form of stress. And at a time when your immune system is already compromised, you can ill afford any additional stress. Stress, like I said earlier, I feel like stress in itself is a cancer. And if it isn't, it certainly compounds it.
mhm. Right. Um, Solomon says fear is a silent killer. I wish more people knew
Absolutely.
that. Uh-huh. That is totally correct. Fear is false evidence appearing real, and it takes a toll on you. And it's orchestrated from the devil. It comes from the devil. And so anything that's negative, you don't want to focus on that. So we were talking about stress, and there are so many ways you can de-stress. When you have a lot of children, you're going to be stressed. So you can't eliminate stress. Uh, what would you recommend to the audience if they are in an environment that's posing stress right now? What would you say? What would you recommend for them?
Again, that's going to be different for each individual, but whatever brings you peace. Like, again, for me, it was reading, it was football, and I mean, just sports in general. Like, out of those 7 hours, I probably watched ESPN for 5 of them. So whatever you can do as an escape, whatever brings you a degree of peace, where just for that moment in time you can forget what you're going through.
Mhm.
Whatever that is for you, I strongly encourage that.
That's right. Everybody is different. I love long walks. I remember when I first started, I couldn't walk long at all. And so I did what I could do. And I didn't, make my weakness, I made my weakness my strength, if that
Right.
makes sense. So I would push myself every day. If I could walk to the corner today, then I would walk to the corner and then something else the next day. But to be truthful, when I first started walking again, I couldn't even make it to the corner. You have to take baby steps. So wherever you are in your process, own it, and then just try to push yourself a little bit further, because the if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And
Definitely.
then a lot of people like to have sympathy. They like to have people around them taking care of them. I don't like that. Like, I like to be up moving and shaking. I like to be up doing my responsibilities. So being sick is not something that I enjoy. I don't like the
And,
attention at all.
and when you're an
Um,
independent person, that makes it that much harder.
right. They said name 3 habits you did to de-stress, and I think he said watch TV, football, and
Right.
laughter. Um, They said, what type of football games did you watch during that time?
Well, this was the beauty of that situation. If anything good came out of that, I got diagnosed December 20th. So that ran right into postseason football. So we talking the playoffs, clean into the Super Bowl.
And so you mentioned to me that took away a lot of your time of thinking about yourself, because you were engulfed in the game. The game is energy, like you're gonna
Right.
focus on the game. So that was a distressor.
Definitely.
What was your favorite team?
Come on, Saints.
Like, we supposed to know that, right?
Right.
Which is better, pro or college football? Sound like we got some football lovers on here.
I would say pro.
Uh-huh. Solomon said, "My faith is my distresser." Wow, I love that.
Definitely.
All right. If there's ever such a thing as good timing, I'd say that's it. All right.
Right.
Here's the finale question. If there's anything, thank you all. I want to just tell my audience, thank you for all the questions, all of the comments. I appreciate you for staying on with me for this time. Thank you. Sandra's Authors Forum, love you. We do. But Larry, if there was ever anything you wanted in life and money was not an object, what would you do?
Mm. I think for this phase of my journey, I found that so many people have come to me like, before reading your book, I couldn't eat. I couldn't even envision a light at the end of the tunnel. And to know that I have inspired people to want to live again, that's worth more than money.
Wow, exactly. My sentiments exactly. They said they love the show. Everybody is saying they love the show. At this time, we're going to ask Larry to say a prayer for the audience. Um, all of our audience, we always stay tuned for the prayer at the end. We
Right.
always want to cover our listening audience, let them know that they're going to bed tonight with people that love them, and they can be in a good mood. Order your night. I always say this on my post: command your night for your next day. You
Right.
have the power to do that. Yes. Don't go to bed ever sad or sorrowful, worried. Uh, don't do that. We want you to go to bed thinking about good things, life, health, and strength. And so at this time, if you have a prayer request that you would like Larry to pray for, you can put it in the comment section and he will pray for that. Prayer changes things, and things happen on this show like never before. God answers prayers on this show. I am praying for a litany of people. You wouldn't believe the calls that I have gotten. Um, I'm praying for you out there. Don't think you're alone at all. We love you. We love you. We love you. Larry, will you lead us to the throne of grace?
I will. We're pressed for, I know we're pressed for time. I'm gonna keep this short, but know that everyone, whether you're fighting cancer, whether you're a survivor, whether you're a caregiver, whether you've been fortunate enough to where it hasn't impacted your life at all, know that you don't have to wait for these types of things to happen. You can live life, you can live a purpose driven life now. And I pray that each and every one of you knows that. If you don't, please know it now. For those of you who are in relationships, I pray that you succeed. I pray that God covers all of you with his blood. Um, pray for the youth. I pray that we find our way back to him. And again, I didn't have a chance to say this earlier, but I want to thank each and every person that is watching. Thank all of you. Without you, this moment wouldn't be possible.
Hallelujah.
Amen. God bless all of you.
Oh, Solomon said, pray for me to have my wife soon, and that God gives us all the tools to withstand the trials. Oh, wow. The
Absolutely.
tools and the know how. I love that. Um, Hallelujah. I thank you for that request, Solomon. You know, the last time we prayed for you on here, God answered in a big way. So, audience, will you pray with Solomon concerning this request? The Bible said, uh, Mary, bear children, guide the house. He said, a man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, a good thing. I want that scripture to be placed back on um, here. It is Proverbs 3 and 5 in the Amplified version. It says, lean on who? Trust in who? And be confident in the Lord with all of your heart and mind. And do not rely on your own insight or understanding. You got to go and find Proverbs, man. That's deep. All right. That's deep. If you would like to have an interview, I am ecstatic to take your project and to feature you on my show. Sandra's Authors Forum is the place to be. Right, Larry?
Absolutely.
Yes. And if you still want to donate, uh, everything is on the screen. I wanted to show you all my website tonight. Like, man, I'm so geeked about my website. But guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go off of this live and I'm going to go on a different live tomorrow, Lord willing. And I'm going to release and explain to you how my website works. It is beautiful, and everything you want that I have done is most likely going to be on this new website. The name of it, you can go check it out right now. It is Journey into Purpose LLC. Yes, Journey into Purpose LLC.com. Journey into Purpose. And guess what? I want you to leave me a message. I want to communicate with you. If you have a prayer request, that place is on there for you to leave me a prayer request, and the team will pray for you. All right. If you would like to have me as a speaking engagement for a speaking engagement or anything you want, a retreat, whatever it is, it's on the website. All you got to do is fill out the form. I made everything easy. If you want to join my anthologies, go to that website. It's so easy. You can do it in your sleep, right? Um, Go ahead and say good night. Love your family, love your friends, and go to bed thinking about money, 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 money. I'm just good night. I love you, and there's not a thing you can do about it. All right, Larry.
Hey,
Are there any
oh,
last words you want to say to the audience?
yeah, thank all of you for tuning in. Please support the book, support the mission. In the meantime, stay blessed and stay healthy.
Amen. Good night, everybody.